We'll call this meeting of Wichita County Commission for order. Everyone please rise. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Fintan to give the invocation.
Pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for just allowing us to be here today. Thank you, Lord, for still allowing us to live in a country where we can still worship you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for the rain that we've had today. Please, Lord, be with us as we work to do the business for the county. Help us make the right decisions that would be blessed in your name, Lord. All these things I'd ask through your Son, Jesus, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Y'all join me in pledging allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Thank you. Sheriff, it's your glad to see you all here. You're going to say, if I may have Sheriff with you.
Yes, we have, and we're getting through it.
This time I'd ask if there's any public comment. Anyone on a conference call want to say something? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So I ask court to take action or ask for clarification, or anyone else in the audience need clarification on any of those items?
Judge,
Yes,
on
sir.
item number 4, we'd like to pull that one off there. I think myself and IT have worked the solution for that.
Okay.
Judge, I'd make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll say.
Anyone in the audience have any questions on the items? On the handheld radios, I'm calling it right, that you all wanted for security, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have money in that security fund,
Okay,
so come out of there first.
okay.
Yeah, that's what we figured.
Is that Fund 236, Judge?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then, on, Lee, that was a radio they listed their inventory on the one that's going
Yes, that's correct.
to command post.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay.
Judge, I'd like to also point, we have just one position open now in courthouse security. We filled 3 of them, with 2 of them from outside law enforcement that were good veteran police officers. One of them was a former Texas Ranger, and the other one is one of our transport deputies that's moved up from transport into courthouse security. Done a great job in transport, as well as court security up there on the court floor, so I think it makes a good move to help augment the security of the whole courthouse and courthouse annex.
With the effort to move all of our courtrooms to no personal appearances.
Just a little more thing down.
Yeah, okay. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Muller, a second by Commissioner Fintan to approve consent agenda presented with the removal of item 4 at the request of Chief Rutledge. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, item number 1 under general business is review and approve the bills. Bring the bills for payment.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Any questions or discussion on these bills?
I had one question,
Yes, sir.
and Mark, I forgot on Friday. Is there a dump truck in there? Did you get a dump truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just was, I didn't know whether it was messed up from the tractor trailers we bought, or if that was separate and apart.
No, we approved it last March and ordered it, and Took delivery of it
Okay,
2 weeks ago.
okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Item number 2 is discuss, consider, take action to approve the purchase of 2 Apex 4000, there we are, I knew those were in there. Apex 4000 portable radios from Motorola with courthouse security to be paid from Fund 236 to lines determined by the county auditor. Any other discussion on that?
I move to accept, Judge.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Muller to approve the item as stated. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Item 3 is discuss, consider, take action to approve the purchase of an APX 4500 7 to 800 megahertz mobile radio from Motorola for the EOC command post at a cost of $4,328.16 to be paid by transfer from general fund contingencies. That's the lines determined by the county auditor.
I so much.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any questions or comments about that item? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Item 4 is discuss, consider, take action to approve DeLacy Brothers and Zach Perkins Company as suppliers of rock aggregate for precincts for the first half of 2021. Mr. Wall?
Well, let me,
Commissioner Watts, okay.
yes, sir, let me say that we reached out to both of those groups that had no bid. The material previously found usable material from each company independently. From DeLacy Brothers, our 5/8 chip will come out of Cooperton, and from Zach Burkett, the 3/8 chip is going to come from the Mayo pit down by Graham. So Zach Burkett bid $12 on that 3/8 chip, and then the DeLacy Brother price $12.85, wasn't it, Willie, for the 5/8? Yeah, for the 5/8 at DeLacy Brothers, both materials that we commonly use.
Say that again, how much is it at DeLacy?
DeLacy was $12.85
Okay.
and Zach Burkett was $12.
What's the difference in the distance of those two plants?
It's considerable, yeah, it's,
About 20 mile more, isn't it, to Cooperton, Mickey? We looked, wasn't it 70 and 90 or something like that?
yeah, it's probably, it was 20 to 25 miles one way, so you're looking at extra 50-mile round trip going there versus Graham.
So that makes it even more cost than you've got toll roads.
Right.
No toll roads.
No tolls.
That way.
It's
Not to Cooperton? Oh, I mean.
No, we
It's
go
through
up through
Frederick.
Frederick.
Oh, okay.
We'll know more about it after today, but the run to Cooperton may be quicker, even though it's longer than it is to Graham. But they got pretty good shot at it, so we'll know, like, whether, no, they're going to Graham.
They're going to Graham
Yeah.
this morning.
That's just outside of Grand.
Yes, sir.
it's southeast of Graham.
Yeah, you gotta go toward Lawton to get to Toll Road, which we won't go that way.
Okay.
We're still, this satisfies the material we were needing to complete the chip seal, but it does not include, and we've not formally received recent pricing from the culvert companies. We can't get them to bid us, so we're going to have to do something similar as this and just ask for that comparative pricing between our suppliers and then take action on it. So we're held up right now from, if we're needing them to be a part of the grant, to held up on ordering.
And Judge, with our grant materials, as it comes in, we are gonna add a line on that spreadsheet that will add that freight back in, which will help us with our match. And that's something I don't know that we've done in the past. We sure need to note that though, because, you know, it's, I don't even know what, we had a bid on freight, Willie, and I can't remember, I'll have to go look it up.
On the
freight,
gravel.
you know, they bid freight.
From Rockin' A, yeah.
Yeah, but we need to add that as a separate expense line because that's,
Can we do it, Barry, by the ton on that freight? Isn't that how he bids us?
that's how you bid it, yeah. So that'd give us a net price if we add our freight back in. 'cause it-
Better ask ahead if that's what you can use, if you can use that price, or whether you've gotta go and look at what in that FEMA schedule is often what they do.
Yeah, that's a good.
You mean
point.
comparing the equipment cost?
Yeah, on
Breakdown.
freight, I'm not, that FEMA schedule may be higher. Wouldn't shock me if it was.
I would bet it is.
I bet it is. That's a good point. We'll look at, I've got that schedule. I'll look it up. I don't know how it would be listed,
And,
but we, bet it's in there.
well, and Stan Reed told me, I was kind of hanging up on bid, and I spoke to Tracy. She helped me understand the thought on it a little bit better, but she'd recommended visiting with them, and I called Stan Reed, and he told me as long as we comply, and Willie helped me with this, County Purchase Act, the County Purchasing Act, then we are qualified. We don't necessarily have to do it under the, like, we won't buy $50,000 worth of culverts, but we can qualify on best price received, you know. But he said as long as we comply with what the county's purchasing act is, the mandated act, then we're qualified.
Are any of those culverts available on like buy board or?
Willie, do you know, have you ever looked at that? I have not.
I haven't seen them on buy board, but I'll check and see if we do.
You would think that would be an item that would be on.
Where is
Or
the
HGAC or buy board or something?
the vinyl ones that we're using, where are they coming out of?
I'd have to look at the invoice. I'm not sure.
I couldn't tell you either.
I don't know. I know they're very good on delivery. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
If they're on a co-op, that would satisfy the grant requirements, I would assume.
I'll check into that. I can call and follow up with that. But that's really all we like, to have a complete set of good pricing.
we move forward. You need a motion to approve that, Judge?
Yes, sir.
I'm so moved.
I'll second.
And one other item of discussion, Willie, do you think that we should ask for a submission of pricing on our mill machine? Maybe on an additional rock box lease, and see if there's any, I know that J.B. Klossner would give us a price. I doubt we could find, we don't have any other real local vendors or state vendors of, to my knowledge, but we could certainly, do we need to do that to qualify that price?
Wouldn't hurt, Joe.
Because we pay Crowd 50 on it.
What about Warren Cat or John Deere?
Worth reaching out to.
Yeah, they might, or they know someone that they sell to that does.
Mhm.
Okay, back on this motion, we have a motion by Commissioner Muller, second by Commissioner Fincannon, to approve the purchase of 5/8 crushed stone from the Lacey Brothers at the Cooperton location at $12.85 a ton, or from the Burkett Company location near Graham, Texas at $12.
And that's the 3/8 that's the Zach Burkett, Judge.
Oh, 3/8?
Yeah.
Now, the Delisi is 5/8, Zach Burkett's 3/8.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item five, discuss and consider take action to approve construction company estimate of $15,540 for labor, materials, and equipment on cattle guards at Marshall Loop and extend the box culverts at Austin Road for precinct 4 to be paid from Fund 224 with specific lines determined by the county auditor. Commissioner Watts?
Yes, sir. We had spent quite a bit of time trying to get a company to bid us. Paul Foley helped me with Tommy Duke and was able to show up and actually write up estimates for those projects. We have a Bad Creek problem at Marshall Loop that wipes out the fence all the time. We're going to open that up. The cattle guards are already there and in place, or not in place, but setting on job site to have that done. And we're going to make a foundation for those to set in on Marshall Loop. And then the Austin Road culvert was a box culvert poured in place by the WPA program back in the early 40s or late 30s, and that was what it does is pulls the road in. You're driving along the road, but if two cars can't pass on the bridge at the same time, or the box culvert drain ditch, and so we're going to extend that so each side of it to make it widen the road.
What kind of passage do you have on? I mean, what's your traffic in?
Judge, I don't think we have a high traffic count. What concerns me is that you're paying attention driving down your side of the road and you run slap dab into the shoulder on that culvert because it's sticking up, 2 foot, and you're within your right to be where you're at on the road, but then if you don't go back to the center lane, and it just concerns me, a kid's going to hit it at some point in time, and of course it is the large expense here, is $10,000 expense to go in there and put those foundations in and then build the walls and culverts up on that.
And then both of these cars are for the roads, these not an entrance into anybody's place, but.
Yes, not an entrance into anybody's place.
Is that open range out there? Is that why you have the California?
Well, they had come out some time back and they tried to fence it. They've lost that fence, I don't know how many times, and what happens is the fence lays over in the bar ditch and prevents the drainage because all the brush catches in the fence and lays down into the ditch, and it's just not a good scenario. So we spoke to the landowners out there about using this as an option to prevent that from continually being something we can't control. So that's why we decided to go back to that. It's been out from under cattle guards for a while, but now it's never, to my knowledge, changed.
So that would be open range in there then?
Yes, it's all one. Actually, there's one landowner affected. The neighbor to the west is a different property owner, but he's not encumbered by the road.
I'm just, wondering, what we need to do to mark and do that, make people aware there could be cattle on that road.
It-
For the livestock.
I guess maybe signage like, is there signage buried like when you go out 367?
Yes.
Mark,
You're gonna have to mark it as open range.
especially a warning sign.
Yep.
Caution.
Can we do that? Because we had that, when was that vote, Willie? You and I weren't alive yet, but I think, but.
Yeah, he told me.
About 1916,
Yeah.
It still stands, does it not, Judge? Didn't we determine that?
Yeah, but I thought it gave it a certain designated area, it's not the whole county.
Yeah, that could be. That's been an ongoing discussion for years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have several of those as well. Mark's got one on Bradley Ranch.
Couple.
add a,
Well, I think, you know, critical as long as you meet standards on parking, that advising people. But, you know, the traffic out there is probably not 20 vehicles a day, but
Yeah, and it's
one hitting a abutment or one hitting a cow out there.
either way.
I had a friend when we were in high school do that years ago on Wellington when it was so narrowed up and the channel came in, you know, the road
Yeah.
jumped back in and come across and went back out and he hit it and knocked off the front end of his truck pretty hard. Wonder it didn't kill him, but
Well, we've addressed several of them because that was the width of the road when that was put in, and then the road gets widened and we don't widen the bridge. It can be a problem.
that's my worst one, for sure.
We sure try to keep markers up on them, although they get knocked
Yeah.
down quite often, but it sure makes a difference.
The Wellington Road Bridge, although it, 2 cars can get by there, but you try to get a fire engine and somebody stops on it because people do
Yeah.
things like that. Fire engine can't get through.
You wouldn't wanna meet 2 SUVs at 70 on.
No, you don't.
Not, and that's what we try to do, Sheriff, out there now.
I
so.
mean, our deputies will try to run radar out there, but there's not a
Yeah.
egress way that not gonna, only
To get off.
one or 2 places you can park
Yeah,
to run that radar because
Yeah.
they like to work it.
yeah, I can see that.
It's
It's
still
a hard, Barry's had a issue, Huntington and Wellington both looking at different deals because the traffic in Wellington's pretty stiff too.
It's heavy.
It's heavy now.
and growing. Just all you can do is all you can do, you know,
Mhm.
just do what you can do and move on. You also get into a scenario out in that part of the world, if you put a pretty tall marker up, it's gonna get knocked down, because somebody's gonna move equipment across
Yeah.
there, and it's gonna take it out, and that's a problem. So,
That's what happens to us as much as anything
Yeah.
is equipment hitting those and pulling or bending them over.
I've got guys now that'll call me when they hit one and say, by the way, I said, I hit that, okay, we'll go put it back up.
Where do you get those spring deals like that?
And
Yeah, that's-
we use some of those plastic ones, and they last, you know, for a while. They'll lay over and stand back up, but pretty important.
All right, is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
Second?
Yes.
Any other comments, anyone in the audience? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the item as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Let's drop down to number 7, let you go ahead and give that report real quick, Commissioner, and then because I think number 6 is gonna take some time.
Okay, everything is continuing on out at LEC. This week, the milestones will be they'll do the landscaping finally. We're meeting with the landscaper first thing in the morning to get that started, and hopefully we'll have that done by the end of the week. They're still continuing northward into the building, as they move northward, finishing off pods. Once they get them all finished, they're locking them off and no one else enters them. Thursday, I'm planning on doing a media tour, so we can have our media get out and see what's really going on behind closed doors out there. There's been a lot of questions and a lot of information that has not been reported very accurately, so I'll make sure that we get the right information out in their hands, so.
We'll start this week on the shower fans too.
Yeah.
That's still probably looking at probably 2 to 3 week deal.
What kind of date are we going, proposed date?
April 14.
That would be allowing what the time
That's
for?
allowing all the time. For that last
Is that when?
change order.
We'll ask, Brandon's group to come check this out, or is that including the inspection by the jail commission?
That's should be turning it over to Jill
Yeah.
Casson.
We'll turn it over to them.
Substantial completion date is what they call that. Now, we do have our Joe compliance person who oversees us will be here next week. He's just gonna do a walkthrough and just see it, and maybe, you know, if something needs to be corrected he sees, he'll go ahead and tell us, so he will be here next week.
That's kind of helpful, really.
Yeah, that's really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's hope he doesn't see anything.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Better to see it now than later.
Yeah, better see it now.
Mark,
It's better to see it 2 years ago.
Glenna spoke to, but I just, you were out, you could have been on the phone, but the lobby, did it get painted the way we wanted it to?
We have not walked the punch list on the lobby. From appearance, just walking in, looks good now. We held off on doing the punch list because they still had was it Dantex?
Yeah, in
Or
the.
Zolatone,
visitation-
Zolatone.
Zolatone visitation area.
Yeah, they still had the visitation area to paint in Zolatone. So rather than punching twice, we are gonna punch all the Zolatone at once. We will start walking some of the punch on the pods Wednesday morning, I believe, too, so. So I don't know if we'll do the Zolatone this week or not, as far as punch list, but we'll be doing a lot of walking and checking over the next 2 months.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. And let's go to item 6. Discuss, consider, take action on the Wichita County COVID-19 guidelines update and related paid and non-paid issues. I'm sorry you all didn't get anything until this morning. It was a moving target over the weekend. Ms. Jennings and I worked on it on Friday, or Thursday, and then sent it down to the senior personnel specialist at Texas Association of Counties, who pretty well told us great ideas, but you can't do that. When we were trying to have it where employees, we could advance them sick leave, and then they could pay it back. You can't do that. So,
And Tracy, what is that, what, did you understand why that, is that a just violation of county law of some sort?
Right, that we're extending credit, basically. We're extending money for an asset to both.
it's in that same deal if you can't go back and retroactively change
I
somebody's
see.
pay and bring it up.
Okay.
It's under that same, while it makes perfectly good sense, it does not necessarily
Well,
coincide with our statutory governance.
How do you want to, I've got my questions listed, Judge, here that,
Okay.
do we want to go round table or?
Just to say, Nancy, does everyone in here have this latest document?
Yes,
Yes.
I got copies out from
Okay.
there. Did anybody not get them?
Anybody not get their copy of, did you get your?
So have we established a 80-hour emergency paid sick leave bank previous? I don't recall doing that.
I just needed to name it
Oh.
something,
Oh, okay,
and I wanted to try to differentiate between the 2020, so I just called it phase 2 because I'm thinking that's kind of behind us,
okay,
but I don't care what
I got
y'all
you.
call it. I call it
Okay.
something that I can understand. You can call it whatever you want to,
okay, so,
but I needed to name it.
And we worked on the, Tracy and I visited on this Sunday afternoon. I appreciate her coming in early this morning and putting that together, and then we went back over it. Part of it is, let me tell you some of the reasons we're doing. In something I had seen before, and I don't know how it surfaced, whether it was Ms. Jennings' research, but for people who had not received 80 hours of COVID sick leave that's reimbursable by the government prior to December 31st, then they are eligible between now and March 31st that's reimbursable. Now,
Through the CARES Act,
So,
through the CARES Act.
through the CARES Act.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I think whatever we do today, within the next 2 weeks, is gonna change at the federal level. But we need to go ahead and get ours in place, because we don't know how much congeniality really exists in Washington DC to get something done. So, do ours. So, and then the other thing this paper does, let's say you use that 80 hours that you've had prior to January 1st, this will give everyone 80 hours of not just COVID, it could be some other thing they have, but they've got that first 80 hours from day one of employment. And this will carry on as long as the disaster declaration is in place.
And the way I understand it, Judge, is you have, if you used up time in 2020, you've still got it through March 31st, right? You've still got 80 hours.
To claim for reimbursement. But this 80 hours we're granting now goes through the end of the declaration period. But it's a one-time grant of 80 hours.
Well, but like the third paragraph here, it says that county employees that have exhausted the emergency paid sick leave balance prior to the date of this policy are allowed up to 2 weeks.
So we've got two different pots. We got, the way I understand it now, is we got a 2020 pot that had 80 hours, and then we have the 21 pot that has an additional 80 hours.
And you
is that
may or
correct?
may not have used the 20.
If you have not used the 20, I guess it carries until March 31st.
Right. But you don't
But
get-
you have the 21 pot on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what we need to kind of clarify is, okay, let's say I had 40 hours that I didn't use in 2020. It carries over, is it, now do I have 120 hours, or I still only have 80, and that 40 comes out of that 80?
Well, I think they're separate and apart the way I'd read the policy. 2020's done, and those hours used are gone, possibly being reimbursed to us, and there's a new 80-hour bank to
Okay.
pull from in 2021.
A fresh bank,
A
just 80
fresh
hours.
bank, and that way Tanya's jobs are gonna be a lot simpler to track, because we would suppose that we're getting reimbursed for the majority of what has been outlaid, because Sonia's tracked it hard and heavy, and we would hope that a large portion of the 2020 numbers are reimbursable.
Yeah, we just start a bank fresh from today, moving forward. at 80
And in
hours.
essence, that's what it is.
I wondered that said, because I see somebody say, well, I had 20 hours left, so now I get a total of 100. No. Everybody, now, you still earn your regular sick leave,
Leave and vacation.
okay, sick leave and vacation. But this 80 hours is, and we didn't limit it to COVID only, because we felt like there are other legitimate things, and
Okay, now in the second paragraph of this, the new policy, it says if they meet one of the two qualifying reasons listed on the application. Well, one is if Nancy is experiencing symptoms and she needs to seek medical diagnosis, or if she is tested positive. But it makes no reference to Kenny being positive. Do we want Nancy coming to work?
The exposure part.
Yeah, exposure.
yeah, and correct me on, I said that the way we've written this, that 80 hours is covered on the relation, that granted 80
Yeah,
hours.
I think it needs to be COVID related. I mean, if you're sick and you go get tested because you're sick and you're symptomatic, COVID symptoms run the gambit of anything from sniffles to rashes now.
But it also can just be exposure though,
Yeah,
right?
exposure. I
With
think
no
we have to
symptoms.
cover the exposure.
Can we just modify one, Tracy, to incorporate
Yeah.
the exposure of that as well, where, because, I mean, I don't think any of us want that employee that has a problem at home coming on to the office, do we?
Okay, so you all want to add as a qualifying reason, number 3, which is exposure.
Yeah, exposure, qualifying exposure by his health district guidelines.
I think you,
Yeah, I mean, there's some instances where Lori may have, health, services or whatever that are remote workers from her that, you know, they get exposed, but she wouldn't have to quarantine people in her office because of that, or will the same way, I guess.
Well, everybody probably gets exposed every day.
I think it had to be, myself, I'd like to see it say something about, they have something in the health department saying they've been exposed and
That's-
they meet the guidelines, not just because I came in contact with somebody.
No, that's what,
Right.
qualifying health department exposure.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's, if you're firsthand exposure to someone in your household, or firsthand at work, somebody is
Yeah, and-
tested positive and you've been within them or near them without a mask for more than 15 minutes.
And then the onus is on more than just that employee to make the call. He has to legitimately run it through the health department.
Yes.
Or health authority, we
Health
can't
authority.
limit it to just our health department.
Health
We-
authority.
Yeah.
We have employees that are out of county that are not under our local health authority guidelines, so, which creates another level of problems.
So would it be fair to say that a health authority qualified exposure that requires quarantine?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah, I think that
Have
would
those
be,
guidelines somewhere?
what's that?
Do you have, are those guidelines written somewhere so we know? Because as a,
They change,
well, I
they,
mean,
they've changed several times since the beginning of
We're
this. It's
saying
not-
to bring that from the health department.
This is what they're saying the requirements are from
okay,
January.
but I'm talking about the exposure. I have an employee whose daughter is positive, and she went in their house and turned around and came back. Should she have been quarantined 14 days? That's what I'm asking. What is the guideline for that? What you're saying is to follow that guideline, what's the guideline?
The last one that I got from the health district we walked through was if you've been in contact with somebody for more than aggregate 15 minutes without a mask that is tested positive, then that's considered a moderate risk exposure. So walking in to where somebody is positive and walking back out is not considered.
See, I didn't know that.
Okay.
So, I mean, so.
But that was the last I talked to. It could have changed since then.
Fluid.
See, that's the hard part with that is,
But
we
you
as
certainly,
department heads or elected officials don't have that written somewhere, then,
but I
That's why you
certainly,
refer to HR and the HR department will run the traps
Is
with
that something
health
we
district.
can list on the internet under our HR?
We can, yeah.
I mean, then they have access to that?
It's available, I'm pretty sure it's available on the health department website.
It is.
And let's let them keep up with it.
Yeah.
We don't want our
Instead of
version
us
to now
having
be
to go back.
outdated
Well-
for that and.
so, yeah, and that brings up on Lori's point here, and maybe puts the onus on Tanya and Sonia about are they required to, be the coordinator for the testing? And down in, the 6th paragraph, that the employees must coordinate testing through the Human Resource Department.
The reason for part of that is to get them to a place, if they're an employee that is not qualified for health insurance, then we want them to go someplace that testing is free to them, not, Commissioner Finnegan, I think you said you pay $150 to get a test.
$143.50.
Yeah.
Not counting.
But, and what irritated me on that was, it was at the beginning of COVID, but I was instructed by my supervisor where to go get tested and that I had to go get tested, and I assumed it was being paid by my employer, and come to find out that it wasn't. So if I would have went somewhere else, there was free testing available, but that's why I was a little irritated. No different than here. I think if the county tells somebody where to go and there's fees, then we ought to pay for them. But if we're getting free testing or our insurance covers it here at the county, then that's fine.
People that are here 45 days before they get covered.
But I have a quick question here, because this is something that, when this all started last week, the whole reason for doing the 80 hours was gonna be more of a buffer and not just an extra 80 hours of sick time. And I don't see anything on here that says which sick you use first. Do you use the sick that you have? Do you use your current time first and use this as a buffer in
The
case you
way I
run out
read
of
it,
time?
Mickey, is you'd use the 80 hours on COVID-related incidents.
Well, so it changed from that then, from last week?
Yes, sir.
Because I don't see anything in here that says anything about using your own sick time or your own vacation time or your own holidays.
First paragraph,
Huh?
employees are not able to return to work after their 80 hours are depleted, then they go into using their
Okay.
and or their dog.
Sure.
Another thing, there should be something in there that, I know it goes back to the elected official. If you have an employee that, I've been exposed to brother-in-law's uncle, and so, he's positive, or he may be positive. Someone stay home, and basically some cow milkers, we all know what we're talking about. We had some that was trying to milk the system, and so we asked them, okay, provide us a test result that you got tested. Well, then, 4 days go by, I don't hear from him, so you have to go back and make a call, hey, where's your test? Well, I haven't gotten tested yet, so then basically we had to tell them, you will go get tested.
Well,
make them do it, and then, of course, they come back negative, and then, so then they gotta come back to work next day. So then, of course, a week later, I've been infected again by somebody else, so we got a couple of those identified.
well, we have a policy in place that covers that. I think it was revised in October. It basically says employees will continue to receive pay up to 2 working days past the release date from Wichita County Health District in order to secure COVID test and results. Employees who are out of the office past 2 working days from the release date will be paid subject to the Families First Coronavirus Act, in effect at the time of the employee's date of release.
But you're talking, but that's 8 days after.
We
What
had
he's
some
talking
that
about,
were saying they were exposed and they couldn't come to work,
Yeah.
but would never go get tested and had no paperwork saying they were exposed.
Then if they don't have paperwork, if they don't,
That's their personal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's a
the
personal-
reason that's what we started doing,
That's what
and
we
then that
did.
kinda slowed that
Yeah.
down.
But
But
it's-
the way I understand that is that onus is actually gonna be on Tanya and Sonia about making sure that that person gives us qualifying information
Right.
needed to keep them from being
So,
a milker.
Right.
that's the easy fix on our part.
well, the way if they're gonna go home for COVID and they're gonna, we could very well require them to go get a test. If you need to quarantine, then you need to go get tested, because if you test negative and 2 days later, you can come back to work. You don't have to be off 10 days or 14 days. Most other agencies I spoke to, they make them use their own time for that reason, so they have a little bit more skin in the game.
Yeah.
And not just give them that's why I originally thought this was going on the back end and not the front end. That's why I asked that question, because as long as you have an extra 80 hours, 2 weeks out there buffer, people are gonna abuse it.
People are gonna use it.
You're incentivizing people to cheat the system.
I think originally, the health department told us that you could get up to 2 weeks before the symptoms actually.
Correct.
Yeah.
But then they've lowered that down, they changed it back and
Now-
forth
now-
because nobody,
Originally was, at 13th day before somebody showed it, so you didn't know. But it's changed since then, I understand.
either way you go, you're gonna incentivize people to come to work when they're a little sick, or you're gonna incentivize people to abuse time. So,
well,
But-
this at least gives us a limit. Right now, we're pretty much unlimited.
yeah.
And we monitor our people if they're, especially going through the dairy portion of this
And
event. We identify who they are. There's not any problems after this point, but once you tell them you're gonna come back to work or you're gonna get with a positive test or.
At least this
or
way,
factor.
And
they
I'm,
have to qualify.
Yeah.
They're having to provide.
And I agree with that.
documentation to
Yeah.
qualify
Yeah, I agree
for
with
it.
You're
that.
gonna have the paper trail, you're gonna have
There you go.
you're gonna be able to keep track of
my
who's
biggest,
utilized and who's not, who.
You know, I don't think you can create something that can't be abused.
right.
Yeah,
I think the
this is
biggest
already-
thing is having a set of
you're-
rules to go by. That's what I said from the
You're-
beginning, just gotta have a set of rules.
Sonia, once we initiated the, kind of the written, Human Resources was going to track this, have you sensed that we've got some dairy farmers out there that David's speaking of? You have?
We have a large number of them actually,
Oh, I would not have
who
thought
have
that.
utilized it multiple times. I'm talking not just twice, I'm talking about 4 times.
3 to 4.
They're not changing what they're doing when they're off. They're still getting in large groups, and so they keep repeating that, because the large groups that you're into, the more chance you're gonna be exposed. So they know that this is in place where it's gonna cover them, so they're getting 2-week vacations every time you turn around. Meanwhile, they're growing a sick leave, time and a vacation time, so they've already been out 6 weeks this year on COVID leave, and they still got 3 weeks of vacation and sick leave.
Yeah, that's why we need a limit.
So-
We had to put an end on it, so.
Judge, this really isn't any different than what we talked about on Friday, other than the fact that we're putting it in place, not loaning the.
Yeah.
Right, that's basically.
I believe that what you have in place right here, this 80-hour limit, I believe that's gonna cut out a whole lot of that.
Well,
I think the demanding the
the
health department, the three
Having
items,
to
you have to
go
meet
in.
these before you're eligible for it, will make a big difference.
Yes,
So,
It has to all be qualified before
Yes.
it's applied.
I would like to report though, in the jail setting today, we have 2 positives, or employees, 2 positive employees, none quarantined and none pending, and we have 0 inmates as of today.
Oh, wow, good
Awesome.
news.
That helps.
that's pretty amazing.
Judge, this document refers to reduced pay, but it doesn't explain what that is.
Well, we had that discussion this morning, and it means it would be down to, if you're docked, it's either your hourly pay or 0. And some people might want to look at that and say, well, I'll take half pay and half time. No, we're not going to try to keep up with that kind of thing.
So I'm thinking maybe Commissioner Muller just in looking at the one that we updated, because the judge did address that with me. The employees will be docked at employees' daily rate of pay as opposed to reduced.
Okay.
Reduced meant to me, you're not getting it. Reduced meant to other people.
Well, it just,
I'm getting.
yeah, to me, it just left a question and like, well,
Right.
what does that mean?
So we
Yeah,
did,
so-
we did correct that.
Yeah.
Do you have the one that's,
I thought mine said, I've got 2 different copies
yeah,
here.
so down at the bottom on your footer,
Okay,
should be 2021-0125 feet
Bottom left-hand corner.
in your very bottom left-hand corner.
I've got an A, oh, I got an A and a
Okay,
B,
so
I see
you-
now.
yeah, yes,
I got an A
Throw
and a
away
B.
the
All right.
A.
I want y'all to be.
All right, A's, A, we know it's out.
Right.
All right,
You're welcome.
all right.
And
So straightforward, I didn't want to be moving around with it.
then on item 7, Tracy, paragraph 7 there, the math behind that, I just looked
Just
at.
right out of Department of Labor, the Department of Labor research that I did. So there's a maximum on that, on the reimbursement through the CARES. So I just use their language.
Do we have people that do more?
I have no idea.
Why, I just wondered why it wouldn't be the regular pay, period. And there may not be anybody
Up to,
up to.
right. So that covers everybody.
It's not perfect, but it's a step forward, Judge,
Thank you.
Yeah.
and it's probably gonna change in 2 or 3 weeks anyway.
Well, we'll need to go back and modify what we passed back in October to reflect it.
And
do we need
Tracy,
to
I guess
cancel
there
that
is a,
October?
this,
or revise it?
There's a lot of it that's still, one in October doesn't set pay guidelines, but it does set how, the letters and everything that we need, so we need to go back and amend that.
So, Commissioner, look, the last paragraph, but right above instructions, all Wichita County COVID-19 personnel policies in place,
Yeah,
or as may be amended, are still in full force in effect.
right, but,
And so if this document changes your documentation, then I intended it to change specifically what was included in that document.
Okay.
It's not gonna hurt us to go back, but I
Sure.
didn't want us to feel like we were, every time we change this, we're going back and changing multiple policies.
yeah, there are some problematic areas in that existing policy,
Sure.
requiring a letter from Wichita County Health District.
Right.
We know we can't get that for some staff because they live outside of the county. That was something that we didn't account for. And we've had multiple instances where we just can't get that release letter
And
because,
some doctors will not, some physicians will not sign off on that if they were not treating them. So,
So-
that's where we're winding up in a bind on those doctors.
so we can work on that policy or if, we'll fix that next week based on what we do with this week. But we really need to go back and fix the errors or the changes that have occurred since October.
And this document, like every other policy we will ever have, it is absolutely fluid.
Yeah.
And we are reacting, we're trying to be a little proactive with this, but we're gonna then be reacting to other orders, whether state or federal. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
I think it's a good step in the right direction. It's not perfect, but I think we can come up with something perfect in this instance.
what happens in the instance, and when I'm reading the application under the select one of the qualifying reasons, and we discuss the quarantining portion, but let's say Tracy in your office or Lori in yours, that somebody is exposed or potentially not in good shape or experience some form of symptoms, but can telework. Do they pull on the 80 hours or are they just regular time?
So, in my mind, and this is something the judge and I discussed, there are people who can still go home and work, and they are working, they're not using their hours, they're working. And that's, then the issue becomes, there are some folks, sheriff's office, jailers, who cannot
Can't.
telework.
Right.
But then there are those of us who
All right.
are at home teleworking.
Yeah.
So, and there is a difference in that.
Well, will Tanya then and Sonia help us put that together as to whether they are accruing or not accruing, I guess? Just be the coordinator of that?
I think that's department head's call. If they're able to assign them telework, then they're not on this 80-hour.
There won't be a need to complete this if they're gonna be working from home, because they're still on duty.
Are you gonna still, as a department head though, are you still gonna make them go and get a COVID test so they can come back to work? Because it seems like if you didn't do that, then
Yeah.
you're incentivizing them to stay home, which might be interpreted from other departments as a little wrong.
Well, we still have the return to work.
Yeah.
in our
Yeah, they still have to have all that before they can come
Yeah,
back.
before they come back.
Speaking as a department head, yes, they would have to. But my question on the working from home, my employees are on the time clock. They can clock in. 8 hours, 9 hours later, how do I know they've actually, I mean, you know,
That's up for you to determine if they've completed the work that was assigned to them.
of course, a lot of my work you can't do from home.
No.
Well, right, but some of it could be, you can, IT could look and see what they were doing on the network, it's fine.
Because I know,
Solitaire and shopping don't count.
No.
Lori, you said
I
they
know
are
there's some
able?
probably who misuse that system where I clock in and then I say, oh, look, I've been clocked in for 9 hours.
Yeah,
If you have no way of tracking they've actually worked, that person is getting an hour overtime every day.
Well,
And that's
ask
not
for
right.
the work product that they were doing during that hour, and then you take it and reduce the hour before the week's over and give the time off, so you don't pay overtime. And then you call them in and counsel them and say, you know, any more of this, and you may have all the time in the world to be sick.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Like I said, my employees really can't do a lot of things at home.
Well, and a lot of departments can't. I don't know.
And we don't have the computers, the laptops for them to take on.
Are we not able to get them from Check 'em Out?
I think I
They're all
think they're all,
checked out.
they're all
We'll have-
checked out.
When we get the DA's new ones in, we'll have some more.
Okay.
And the district and county court of law judges are getting new ones to help improve this new requirement of no in-person court stuff.
Well, do we want to go ahead and take action as this is, you and Tracy's thoughts on that, and then amend next meeting the changes that she might bring forward with it? Or how is the appropriate way to do that?
so I think we go ahead and approve this with the addition of, on the qualifying reasons to add quarantine
Okay.
by local health district rules.
Okay, so I'll make that motion to move forward with that.
Hang on just a second, if you could help me with this, there are a couple of things in here that I would like to change that are not substantive. Of course, as I'm sitting here looking at you all, if you could make the motion to approve an emergency paid sick leave guidelines, the substance of the document, including the addition, and then that'll let me clean it up just a little
Okay.
bit.
Yeah.
And again, nothing substantive, but just maybe
Yeah.
some housekeeping things I'd like to fix for y'all. Is that okay?
So just include that in my motion that
Yes.
with changes as brought forth by the county attorney?
That's perfect.
Okay.
No. I wrote down that number 3 in there as employee has validated health authority exposure that requires quarantine, check yes or no down there below, like the
And just for my understanding, a part-time employee is actual county, it's not a temporary employee.
No, that's.
That's
gonna be somebody-
separate.
But do we even have anybody, and that was one of my questions, do we even have part-time?
We do.
We do in the jail? Okay, that was my, thank you.
Or on 561, they're not actually in the jail, they're in 561.
All right, thank you.
But that's a totally new thing to give part-time, but we have the same exposure risk if we.
Exactly.
So,
Our temp employees, they're covered by my staff or the agency that they work for, so
Mhm.
they're covered under their pay.
just
So
like-
that motion was,
You've been here so long already.
3 hours.
We will have this on again next week along with the policy Commissioner Beecham is working on updating. I think, as we get some feedback from department heads and elected officials, there may be some things that we need to revise in this. And so, it's, as Jenny said, it's a living document now. We want to be sure, because what's clear to us after talking about it, just like when Commissioner Waller and I both looked at reduced, that it meant different things. So, there's a motion by Commissioner Watson.
I'll second it.
Thanks, sir. Any other comments?
Got one.
Yes, sir.
Back on, item number 5, I just, for the record, I have no association with the Duke Construction Company, but I do have the Duke Demolition Company, the inmate workers, and they tear things out, so I just wanna make sure, because I know how people watch this and see these things, and they'll come ask questions, and I have no affiliation with that construction company at all.
Well, you have enough trouble with the name David, do, without.
Yeah, I do, yeah, it comes up pretty regularly, that's probably just tell you. But anyway, I just wanted to make a point of that. And also the other thing was in the, item number 10 on the consent agenda, that vehicle accident was $6,207.95 of damage. That was a non-fault of our unit driver. It was another individual whose insurance is covering that damage. That's not,
That wasn't insurance cover on that.
yes, yes. I meant to tell you all that when we first covered that.
Good deal. We always appreciate that. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we have a motion to approve the document as amended during discussions by Commissioner Watts and seconded by Commissioner Fincannon. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Very good work on that. Tracy, I appreciate all what you've done on this. It's much better than what I put out last week. Okay, we're down to anyone else that has anything to bring up? Okay, Commissioner Beecham,
I don't have anything, Judge.
Commissioner Fincan.
I don't believe I have anything.
Commissioner Waller.
We completed a pretty major culvert placement last year, precinct on one of our heavier travel roads, and it's running water this morning, so that's a good thing.
That's always good.
Got well, and as usual, when we got it out, it was a lot worse than we thought it was. It was about completely collapsed in the middle, and we upped the size of it by 33%, which we think will kind of keep from backing that water up behind the road, and once it spills over, it creates a flooding hazard, so we think this is a step we want to go. So the guys worked pretty hard on that last week, and you always like it when you get one of those complete and it actually works. So that's basically it, just trying to keep the wheels turning and moving in a positive direction, and boy, that's getting tougher to do all the time.
Very good. That's not, it drained worse than it could have been.
Yeah,
Okay.
water does run downhill, so that's still a good thing.
Commissioner Watts.
Yes, I know that there's a possibility as we're into this hauling, which is going to be substantial for the next good bit here, getting the material in to location at everybody's precincts as needed. I'm assuming that if we did incur some overtime, that wouldn't be a terrible problem. I don't know what the guys decided on the rotation of driving. I don't know. Jack didn't elaborate to me how that occurred, but whether it's a comped off or what the case may be, I'm afraid that we're gonna get into some
We'll know a
hour
lot
here and
more after
there.
we make a couple of trips today and see what the actual time is. And then when we get a run made to the other pit, then we can begin to make some plans, I think, because
Okay.
right now we really don't know.
Okay.
And, but we'll find out pretty quick.
Well, since you're dealing with two different sizes of gravel, you need your 5/8 for your first course and your 3/8 for your second, so that's, unless you sit around and glue 2 to 3/8 together.
Well, I'm just worried about
That's something
hold
the
up at
federal government would
the
do,
pit or
not here, Judge.
the hold up at the pit or the quarry that
Yeah,
might
we just
add
don't know.
time.
Yeah.
We'll know a lot more about it next couple of days, and I think we can do some real planning then.
Okay. And I wished I did have some kind of, I know they've all discussed it and they've talked about, and Mickey throwed his truck in the mix as well, so that makes for a strong 8 loads a day, bearing, foregoing any trouble. So we'll get there a lot quicker, but the haul from Graham, just to give you an idea, is 5,200 tons. So we're going to today get in the neighborhood of 200 tons, and we've still got quite a bit to go.
Have you thought,
Sorry, go ahead, Judge.
okay, thank you. Have you thought about looking at your guys that are hauling like that, maybe changing their workday from 8 hours to 10 hours?
I have,
You
but
get-
it all depends. I've looked at the same thing, but I think if our guys haul longer, if one of my guys does, we'll just flex them off on Fridays, and if we need to put a different person in there driving on Friday, we will. I mean, I've got, all my guys can drive. There's probably at least 4 of them that can drive the truck, so
Okay.
we'll be good either way.
You gotta think about that, our time ends at midnight on Thursday, so Friday isn't at the same
Okay.
pay week.
Well, I'm just saying, if your driver running through Thursday is full of time, he don't have to work on Friday. I mean, I'll see where that time works out, but I see what you're saying, but I don't have to use the same driver driving all the time either if he's going over.
Good reason to have everybody at CDL.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've got one of my, used to have CDLs, got issue, heart related, and can't get cleared. So that puts us in, I've only got 2, so.
And we gotta make sure everybody is certified, it's on the, especially if you're doing that kind of state deal.
Right.
I've got a little hauling to do if things work out for Bradley Ranch. David Romer is willing to give me some additional materials in the rider, so I think it's just up at Mankins, not very far.
Is it something we can do with the 15 yards?
Probably.
It's fairly short haul.
It's short haul,
Yeah.
but I want to take advantage and get as much as I can.
Well, yeah, I saw that, Mark, this Saturday and Sunday, and it is right there handy. You just go up 20, 25 and turn back
Yeah.
west. It's right there.
Yeah, I should be able to haul it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's short haul. We had some damage on our Lock Road compost. Lost my thought process. The seeding that we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
We had some 4-wheel drive activity that had to be mitigated, but it wasn't terrible. So I just don't understand why somebody wants to go tear up something like that.
Game cameras couldn't run like that.
Yeah, I just can't do them, and I did talk to Randy Elliott's helped me with that, and we're investigating those now, so I think that's gonna be the simplest way. He gave me some names to check, and Debbie's been working on that as far as cost-wise, and I'd sure like to show the sheriff some pictures of who's out there spinning donuts.
You know, with, here, how long ago was it Burnet Park got tore up?
At least a month ago.
Good thing is the truck was left there because he tore his back right wheel off, and so we were able to identify who it belonged to and charge him with criminal mischief. And so, they tore it up pretty good.
They did tear it up pretty good. And on that note, David, do you know if Melvin has, we discussed briefly about office safety protocols for our office, and especially now that y'all are not here as much. Is there some form of template that gives us an ideal of if Nancy was to hear gunshots in the hallway, what do we do? What's the second thing we do, and what's the third thing we do? We don't really
First, I
know.
give her a gun. I don't know yet.
We don't really know. Should, I guess, try to lock the doors? Do we stay inside?
I think there was one sent before. I think they've been going for a good one together. But I have to go back and look that up. It'd been a few years ago. I mean, a few years could have been the last decade.
Okay.
But, yeah, obviously lock doors and.
But there's something, you think that we've got something to reference that we could formulate a new plan and pass it, let us all read it?
You know, we did this training in the courthouse on a weekend with deputies and some other people that, you know, if gunshots happen in the hallway, you cannot tell what floor it's on
Right.
at all. And so, so once you start hearing it, you know, obviously I think if you're at courthouse security and you hear something that's above your head, obviously it's gonna be upstairs, but just if you're on the 3rd floor level, the gunshot in the hallway and the stairs, it echoes to the whole top of the building. So those are things that we've learned that you just can't know exactly where it's at. Once again, once we get everything out of this old jail and there's cameras gonna be available to inside the courthouse, it's gonna greatly reduce the time to identify where the issue is in the courthouse.
Okay.
To put cameras up.
You know, David, the majority of the people probably doesn't even know what that sounds like.
Right,
they've never experienced it before.
right.
And you're like, well, what was that? You know, and you
And,
really need to
but-
know.
And it's totally different in this hall, in these hallways or in the stairwell.
Yeah, y'all did that on Saturday, didn't you, go through here and
You know, what, I'd love to do something like that on a week, a planned day, so everybody knows at this time to sit at your desk, and so you get and hear what gunshots sound like.
Yeah.
Because we have to coordinate with everybody, make sure everybody, no one snuck a gun in, make sure certain judges aren't coming out pistol wheeling. We just wanna make sure that we, everybody knows,
Yeah.
and actually go through the floors up here in the courthouse annex. Courthouse annex is a little trickier, because you got public coming in the downstairs, so, you know, you don't know what's coming in the door over there, so I think we just need to do that, so everybody can actually hear, and at least have that knowledge that that sounds like a gunshot.
What are you dealing with? Yeah. We did an exercise at our church already a year or so ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's important, I think, to
Yeah.
just
Well,
experience that.
but we also gotta come up with some devices, you know, who's gonna be the designated locker of that door that stands outside
Yeah.
to lock that door? Same thing on our, where we have these little, they're always, the locks appear to be to the outside.
Nancy's gonna take care of that.
Yeah.
We'll get the new girl.
Yeah, can you like
Willie, they
do,
didn't throw you under the bus.
Mickey,
That's right.
Mickey can show you how to tuck your shoulder and roll and
Yeah.
come up and,
How many people can get under your desk, Willie? That's my question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The other thing, Sheriff, on the people having access to here after hours, there's no signing or anything. Do we need to look at something so we'll know, or how rarely can we obtain who's in the building if there was some kind of calamity, that we'd know who was actually carted in? Is that,
It's a whole other,
We've kind of just vaguely talked about how we're gonna do that, and we don't really have a solution for that.
after hours, it's gonna be kinda hard. If you
After
go back
hours,
to cameras, you're gonna have to rely on cameras.
Because you come in during the day, not on a card, and you leave on a card after hours, so there's no way to ever.
But when you leave, you go, even go out the back door down the basement, it doesn't log you going out.
Right.
well, but you gotta have a card to get to that
To
door.
get in,
You can't get through your all.
Yeah, true.
That's right.
yeah, I don't, when it reconfigures down there, how it's gonna.
Well, we
have
can
cards.
use one of those facial recognition machines down there to log everybody in.
Yeah,
Once-
let's do it this way.
The other thing we're gonna need to look at is what's gonna change when we start construction down there. That's not gonna be,
No, it's gonna be closed off
it's gonna be
for
closed off, so
a year.
we're gonna have to work out something on the doors here on the east side at the.
And, you know, if you come through these other doors on the weekend and go out the doors, well, yesterday or Saturday or, I don't know what day it was, one morning, it was, this weekend, I was in my car, I could hear the front door alarm go off because it broadcast on our radio, so I'm wondering who's in the building going out the front door. Of course, our deputies were going to that, but we don't know. I mean, when they go out the front door, they get in here, they can go out the front door and set off the alarm, but by the time we get here, it'll be gone.
Well,
So we don't know who's in the building to start with, and then once you close off this back entrance for the weekends, how's somebody gonna get in the building?
we've gotta work out how that, where that's gonna work for.
Another thing, when the construction starts, may have to check the fire marshal to see about egress out for emergency to that basement, out those back doors. I don't know, because of the construction, it can be totally blocked off, or it has to be rerouted back toward maintenance, but if maintenance door's closed, you're not gonna get out that way anyway. So that's something to think about, because we don't want to surprise visitors from the fire department.
Well, they'll have to review, city will have to review the plans and everything on it anyway.
Yeah.
And we'll get the recommendation at that point.
But you won't have anyone in that area other than construction people, and they're
Right.
all gonna be within 50 foot of an exit.
And that would be their exit off.
Yeah. So that, I mean, but we need to work out something for after hours
and weekends.
in and out, but if that's registered, it can readily be assessed as to who was in the building off of the electronic entry.
Can we make the door by IIT, the after hours entrance, egress and egress?
It'd have to have a
Yeah, we put a card reader
key
on
card
it.
reader on
Card
that.
reader.
Yeah, but it's the most likely one for.
Yeah, that'd be the most,
And a facial recognition,
Yeah.
at least we keep a lot of that. That'd be the best one.
Yeah.
yeah.
So when I use my card at the sheriff's office to get out, it doesn't say it's Tracy.
It
It
does.
does
On the interior door it does, not the exterior.
But it does if you go through that exit each time. But if you go out the front door and you come in the sheriff's office, we know Tracy's in the building, but we don't know she left unless we're searching the
If you
camera.
go out that back door, we don't know you left either, then on the camera, you hit the exit button.
Right, but I'm just saying, once I've hit the old sheriff's office door, y'all know I made it that
Going that
far.
direction.
Yeah,
We're
we're going
assuming
that
I'm going
direction.
out.
Right.
So, but I thought that's the only way after hours and on the weekends I could get in is by coming that way.
It is right now,
It
Tracy.
is.
But Will, doesn't the door catcher, the door to the lobby catcher, that she has to use her card to get through before, I know she's hitting the
Yeah,
exit
yeah.
button to get out, but she.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean she doesn't go in there and turn around and come back out for some reason and go out the front door. We
Oh.
don't know where she goes once she goes.
Oh,
Once she goes past that door, we don't know where she goes.
okay.
And before, when records was there, everybody come in the back door, and they stop at the window, they
Sign in.
the register.
Right, right.
And we won't have that, so. Maybe we need a reader on both sides instead of an exit button.
Yeah.
If we could do that, have a reader, and we know that person left at this time, they came in at this time.
Yeah, like use a card, get up to.
But
That'd be best.
then we'll have to check that with the fire
And check
marshal.
this fire department code either, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Code to
true.
that either, because.
Yeah, you put a crash bar on it that would sound an alarm that would go off. That may be doable.
Yeah, you have crash bar in there.
Crash bar alarm. If
Use your
if
key
you crash
otherwise.
bar it without keying it off, then it alarm sounds.
And you better have a camera on it then.
Yeah.
And
If you're gonna do that.
Keep it from opening anyway. You magnet it, you can release the magnet, but the crash bar, when you push it,
I'll work on that. I think we need to go ahead and start thinking about that IT door being the ingress egress over after hours and get it away from that back door.
Oh, you're talking the far doors.
I'm
Yes.
talking about IT.
after the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we need to
Okay.
change that and have that be our ingress egress point. And we need to set it up for that, where you have to card in, card out with a alarm crash bar.
We gotta be able to bypass the alarm, you hit the crash bar.
Yeah, I think that's doable.
But on weekends, normally we put that bar across it all,
Gate.
the gate, so we'd have to quit doing that.
yeah, I don't know why we would need to do that.
Well, if they broke the glass on the 7th Street window or door, the no alarm's gonna go off, there's not glass breakage on it. So they get in that way and do whatever they want to, and they can go right back out there, if that gate's open, the gate at the bottom of the stairs, or the gate to IT, you know, by the jail, or down the stairs to the jail. If those are open, then they just walk back out the door, and you won't ever know if somebody broke in the front door.
No, we
Well, when we redo that system there.
Yeah,
we
we
gotta address all that,
Yeah,
look at
we'll
it.
we'll get CNI and everybody together and see what solution we can come up with and make that ingress egress for after hours. We should have
So,
already done that.
Are y'all back to using the bottom doors down here? Cause I've been coming around just simply because I thought we needed
I
to
usually
check.
come around, this morning we came to the bottom door, we ran a little bit late, but I normally come around to the front door.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's how I've been coming, just because I can check in at the front or check my temperature, you know?
yeah.
I've been coming in the back and then checking in at the front.
Okay.
Just walk up there and swipe your wrist.
Do you know if the constables up in Burke are gonna come get those 2 desks that we left in the sheriff's office?
I have no idea. Nobody
They've
said
got desk.
That changed.
Oh, that changed? Okay.
As far as I know.
No, they've got all the furniture they need. In fact, they need to get rid of some.
Well,
They took
they
too
gave
much.
us some, Will, the furniture company gave us equipment for that.
Okay. Well, we had left it thinking they were gonna get those 2 desks, so.
We'll just get them moved out there.
I didn't know what
Do
those
we need to
were.
add an amendment to that work order for that project down there, remove that slate by contractor?
We have to, we're still working on that one. Matter of fact, that's it, when they get that door busted out, just,
We can get it out of there, it just may not be.
I just want to know if we got when we get the new elevator, we don't want to wait that long, it would
it'll
go
fit
up.
in the elevator.
And, huh?
Well, it'll fit in the shaft. That might not be the
Elevator
bad way of
might not
doing
be.
it is when they get that elevator
Out,
tore
right to
out,
the
we take
shaft.
it through the shaft and out the hole in the wall and crane it out.
Yeah, It's a big old safe.
Yeah, because that'll be a big open shaft, and that's one of the reasons
Well,
for
we had
doing it
lights
that
tucked
way.
into it, and they backed out, said, no, we don't think so.
We just have to pay extra.
What
to
is
have
the
it
width
lifted
of the
out.
safe?
You'll go out that door, it's just getting it, once we get out that door,
You gotta
getting
turn,
up that.
you gotta turn it sideways, you know.
Yeah.
So it's only about this deep.
Okay.
But it's
It's probably 34 square.
30, yeah. Probably wide.
Just getting it up them stairs is gonna be the hardest part.
But you'd think you could make you a lift, like a glorified forklift that metal plate straps on the back of it and underneath it, and then he can grab a hold of it and skid it up that,
We had a plan to come out there where the drop off is,
yeah, that's
to
what,
put some, heavy steel, angle iron up there.
and let it glide up.
Get up there and block off with 2x4 or 4x4, so when it does tilt with the cable, the bottom won't slide out.
Sure.
So block it up against the bottom of the stairs, and then slide it up and get on the rollers and pull it right out there and get up on a roll off.
Mhm.
Planning should work, but they backed out.
We're gonna take the stairs, not through that.
No, go through that.
Through the big
Yeah,
old.
Through
the south end.
that dock.
Two or
Where the
three-
elevator used to be years
Two or
ago.
three pieces of 4-inch pipe, do it like the Egyptians did.
I think you might be better off to slide it up the stairway than the way you're saying.
Yeah, but
But then you gotta make them turn.
No, not, I wouldn't cable it, I'd rope it. Just get manpower.
Mm.
Because if you lay some 2x12s down on them stairs and lay that over on there, and then throw your straps around it, it just straps, and people push and pull that up.
Yeah.
What about those?
I wouldn't use inmates.
what
I
about
wouldn't for
those
that.
roller deals? You know, like grocery stores used to have you unload the truck and came.
You know, we've got those big rollers that lay something on top of it, heavy duty. Well, they're for moving tanks, emptying tanks, and, you know, they're about this big square. Charlie's got them all.
Okay.
They're
But-
heavy duty, they work, but it's,
But
but the stairway.
You
manpower.
control your, the problem with going up that lift, I have a moving company, I move stuff all the time, but on that, once you lay it down on the stairs, it'll be steady the whole time, there's not gonna be a jerk. When you start tilting it over that one deal, that bottom is gonna wanna slide out, and it's gonna be uncontrollable when it does.
Well, that's why I put the 4x4 at the bottom, give just room where it can get up against it.
But when it finally releases, it's gonna come off that 4x4, and it's gonna, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna free.
It's gonna wag its tail up.
It's gonna wag there for a minute, and you're not gonna be able to control it. At least on the other side, you've always got control.
Can you winch
could-
truck it out?
No, not with the distance there, you couldn't winch it out,
Well,
but
what-
you can push it and pull it up that, no different than,
What I was talking about, Mickey, is if I had a deal built like this, and I put my safe down here on the floor, and I'm winching it off of this right here.
then you'll control it more.
And then, once I get it broke over up top, I'm just picking it up with the winch truck or the. I
But
mean,
you can't
auto.
pick it up, it's underneath that awning, is where you're
Yeah, but
originally
you got-
pulling
Won't
it.
it,
You had to
but
pull
won't
it
it
out.
slide out like this and then I'm able to pick
Yeah.
it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fulcrum point, you may not have enough clearance.
You may not have, I
Yeah.
wondered
Bring that
that.
over.
You may
That's
not.
why you gotta keep it laid over enough on the
Yeah.
rollers.
Yeah.
That's the
it
only
may
reason I
not.
said this, at least on the stair side, you know it's not gonna
It's
cut
gonna
loose. It's gonna
clear.
be a steady pull the whole time till you got it laying on its side.
But the flip of it is that left turn with the AC unit sitting there.
Yeah.
But you can, literally, once you pull it up there on its side, you can put rollers under it and roll it around there to the front.
Can you back a backhoe up in there, swing the boom
You
around?
tear up, all that sidewalk, it'd be too wide. You're gonna tear, it just, I don't think it would
Well,
work.
you straddle the sidewalk.
But that AC unit's there, you have to go down
That's,
there.
the AC unit's the big problem. That, we could bring that rubber tired excavator in there
Yeah,
and pull it out.
uh-huh.
But the AC unit's.
But that AC unit is not gonna be used after.
Yeah, we could
What is
probably
it tied
disconnect
to?
it, move it.
That patrol office area.
Control off the records.
Cause I go by there and it's running and the fan's not.
Yeah, the fan's been burned out for
Yeah.
months. Of course, the bad thing is, right above it, they repaired the roof of the courthouse. They put that big drain up on top, and it didn't count what was down below it, and it just goes, it just
Oh, wow.
Pours in.
hammers it forward down.
But you're right, excavator or skid steer, you could pull that right up them stairs.
Yeah.
Skid steer may work, back to the, Put some
Sure,
sheet,
good, skid steer.
We got nice skid steers.
some flat steel, maybe quarter inch or something across that angle with that, we pull that fence out, so that skid steer can go across that, drop it down in that soft dirt. It's soft, pretty soft in there.
That dirt will be a lot harder in July than it is right now.
And there's no chimpanzees or monkeys hanging in the tree, running around the tree, but we don't do that one.
Well, I'm glad y'all got that now there. I was, what's the term now? Everybody is,
You're gonna have to pivot.
yeah, every time you walk by there, you are offended. Yeah, it's offensive every day. Oh, gosh.
But we still go back to work on getting that thing out of there. Skid steer.
We take a torch and cut it in about 4 pieces and we can get it out.
All the smoke alarms on the way top of the courthouse be going off. The flip side, even if we do get it back around there, we still need to get a flat
Yeah.
to hook up to it and pull it up. Get it moved out there.
How did they get the dang thing in there?
That's what I'm wondering.
Well, they bought it before the courthouse was built.
They made it like building a boat in the basement, guys.
That basement, is still the original part of the 1916, built 1915.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the original part, that was poured first down there. So, I got the headache back then.
Part of the red courthouse, right?
With
It-
it,
It's down there is not the problem.
It's part of the red courthouse.
Yeah, that's part of the red courthouse. That's part of the red
The
courthouse.
basement is,
David, we can probably take that safe and just,
right, really?
with that skid steer loaded up and put it just right in one of our trailers and haul it out there.
It doesn't work.
It wouldn't be a-
Should be able to pull it
Oh,
back
you
out.
got it up on level ground, it'd be easy to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
handle
It's
it.
on rollers.
It's getting it out of that hole
Yeah.
that has a canopy over it and no real way to get it up.
Well, here soon we can plan on getting get some big sheet metal laid down like you'd have over a big hole in the street. Get the fence pulled up and get it done. Well, you gotta get out the back door still.
You gotta take that, metal, and that.
The
metal deal.
door closure.
Yeah, it'll come out once we get the door closer off. That door,
Wait a minute, we got the second door.
what's that door?
The other one that we don't ever use. It doesn't have a door closure above it, does it?
I don't know, when they were using it.
We need to look at that.
Is there any way to take it out through the Sally Port?
No, it can't make that turn, and we won't go through
Jail
the
door.
jail doors are too low, that's what it is. We
We tried
started
that,
that.
they got it over there and they realized, oh, correct.
Can you lay it on its side?
can you lay it on
though?
its side and roll it through there?
But
You can't make that turn, well, you'd have to get it.
Past the turn and then lay it over?
Then he won't lay into two doors won't open at the same time. The jail doors on the
The
east side,
vestibule.
on the south side, the vestibule,
It's too tall. Once you lay it down, you can't
too
get,
long to lay in
you
that
get the
vestibule.
first door, you can't get open the second door.
You mean even with keys, you can't open them both? We've opened them both.
Well, when we cut the.
We've keyed 'em
when we
open
cut the
before.
wall
I
out,
think you're right.
Yeah, you can
Pull it
key
out
them
there.
open. You can use a A and a E and open both those.
Okay.
Yeah, the E key,
Help
the E key.
to help us out.
Is,
Well, yeah.
Nancy, is that?
That's been a long time, but you can open them
You
both.
worked in the jail, but you remember the E key,
Oh.
that's good.
Yeah.
we've gotta cut the wall to go into the new
That might,
hallway.
that right there might be the best
We can pull it out
way.
through there to the Sally Port at
Mhm.
that point.
Yeah,
We don't have to fight it.
yeah.
If you can make it to the records door, make that corner and then lay it over, you can key it and go right through those.
All that's gonna be blown out. When we do the demolition on that and open up the wall, we can pull it out through the Sally Port without having to fight
When
anything.
you do that demo of this, of that sheet rock wall, you got somebody gonna do it, you want it, we can't let labor gonna go through and do all that.
We can get inmate labor to demo, it'll save us money on the
It's cheap.
Yeah.
sledgehammers and.
Value
inmate
based.
labor
Yeah.
is-
Value.
the value engineers-
Value,
There you
value,
go.
Value based.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, because they
I'm sure Kevin Darnell wouldn't complain much either.
In fact, I think that the wall, that front wall there, if you come to the old door going in the old sheriff's office there, that whole wall, the door all the way to the wall is the sheet rock.
Yeah.
That was original, there.
Now the hallway where Jill's office, Patterson's old office, building, all that stays. So those offices stay just like they are.
And all
The
those
rest
are
of that,
sand walls.
yeah, records, all that can be demolished. Yeah,
Okay, you just let us know
okay,
what all went and all that, we'll be in the party crew.
fine.
Yeah. Get some decent food until you have to stay there 12 hours. Well, I probably would. In fact, sleep upstairs on me. That's something pretty good.
Some of it, yeah.
I bet it'd get done a lot quicker than hiring somebody.
Well, it'll save us a little bit.
Yeah.
And then that way we get the wall opened up into the jail area. We can pull that safe through then and take it out to Sallyport without having to worry about winching it over and so it's all on level ground.
But the skid steers still come in handy loading it up on trailers and stuff
Yeah.
for you and hauling it out, unloading it.
You know, Mark, when you come down there from the, by record, you make that turn, go to the jail door. You know, there's a window there on the left, that's where the dispatcher was at one
Yeah.
time. I think that entire wall there is sheet rock in metal studs to a certain point back toward the doorway going in.
Yeah,
To what was the patrol office.
I think it all is up to the original wall, the original wall structure
Yeah.
that divides the jail from the rest of the courthouse.
Yeah,
I think it's all sheet rock or sugar walls.
yeah, I'm thinking that was sheet rock. What about that? The original dispatch, the sheriff's office back there in CID, back in that closet,
Yeah.
it made a left turn and it last, where the dispatcher office was, you know how wide the old windows were down right above the ground? That's, the dispatch office was only about 5 inches either side of it, that's how big it was, it's one console.
Huh.
It was a closet basically,
Wow.
that's where dispatcher was. It's back when I started in 82, like that.
But, yeah, it'll just be a matter of coordinating how we open the walls and everything and build that other bulkhead.
Yeah.
Because we gotta build the bulkhead in order to keep the bottom floor available for holding.
And Lisa talked to the jail commission, I think, Don, she got, when we start closing off the upstairs stuff, they don't have to have any of the plans or anything, we just go, you have to talk to her exactly, but they don't have to have, we don't have to have permission or anything to, when we close off the old side.
The old side,
Once we vacate that and we wanna close that off, we're good to go.
we've gotta move one of the Sallyport doors down.
Yeah,
So we're just gonna take the existing one, take it apart and move it down.
but you know, we thought we had to go in front of the commission to do all that.
We don't?
No.
Why don't we get that in writing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
I
get it
don't
from
want
the-
to know, surprise.
She talked to the lady down there, the new one, the one that took over that Brandon spot, what was her, Alicia? Is that who? She's
Yeah.
over that now, she's over all the building
Oh, wow.
in the, at jail commission, but we'll get that in writing from her.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll still need we'll send them a set of plans just so, once we have them drawn, just to be on the safe side.
Well, we certainly had an interesting discussion today. I'll say that. Anything else? Okay, it's 11:38 and we're adjourned.